Hello and welcome. When you hear that bell, it's time to go to What Is Story Say and click follow. The reason is I'm aiming for 12,000 followers. People have been calling me and telling me they want to donate towards the service of this show. They like the stories and help us to do that by getting a number of followers so that we can be monetized. Thank you very much. Let me talk the story. What does the story say? Well, I'm Dr. Pauline Baird, a cultural bearer from the village of Buxton, Guyana. If you're here for the first time, please understand I tell stories. I tell family histories, whispered stories, or practice hidden, lost, and sometimes just forgotten traditions. I tell these stories of my village so we can learn from them and think about how we learn. And I want to talk about that today. Let me talk the things. In the village, women do a lot of things that I realize I learned from. And here's the story. One Saturday morning, we couldn't get the testimony going in fast enough for Sister Prudence. Sister Prudence came into church early and she was on tenterhooks. By the time they said time for testimony, Sister Prudence jumped up and started to give her testimony. And she started out, God is good. And she began to tell a story. And with this story, I realized how I come to know things. And some of these things I question because of what I've heard women say. And here is the story. Well, Sister Prudence was a bush seller. She used to sell bush. She's a bush connoisseur. Every bush for every ailment Sister Prudence knew. As a matter of fact, she used to carry this bush to the city to sell. Anyway, Sister Prudence would tell people what is good for their ailments. But this time she couldn't heal herself. She had a little sore on the foot. So she went to the village medic and talked about this sore. The medic examined the foot and said, well, Sister Prudence, you must come back and get it treated. So she was going every week and getting this foot dressed. But that was not enough for Sister Prudence. She decided the healing is too slow. And she started to think that this sickness is not natural. You know, in village when they say sickness is not natural, they mean that somebody do them. Do is evil spirit or curse or voodoo, as we just call it, obia. So Sister Prudence say, she got to go and look for a little help. And when you're going and look for a little help, you just go to bush doctor and so on. But this time she didn't go to anybody in the village. You have to understand that village has many services. In our village, we have people who are healers and people who are bush doctors and people who know different things. You have the artisans and the teachers and the doctors, medical trained doctors, and you have people who are just social service workers in the traditional sense. Well, this is important for you to understand because one time when I was in grad school, a friend asked me about my village. She asked me to tell her about it because she had this idea that my village was made up of huts and compounds in which there were several homes. I think she was comparing it to our African village, but I realized that villages are different and yet they're similar. So maybe your village has people like these who perform these services. So Sister Prudence decided to go 3 villages away to a woman to help her to fix this foot. As she tells the story in church with a lot of hallelujahs, she went to a certain woman and she showed the woman the foot and the woman said, this is not natural. She will help her with the foot. So the woman, according to Sister Prudence, examined the foot and told her to come back. Well, they have this thing, like if you go to these natural healers, you're not supposed to pay them, but you can give them something, maybe like egg or chicken or rum or whatever. So Sister Prudence had her gift and she went back to the healer. Sister Prudence, when the lady started to examine the foot, the lady started to squeeze this leg, but she couldn't see exactly what she was doing. She was massaging and squeezing. Then she called the daughter, come, go and get the calabash. And the daughter brought this big calabash. If you know a calabash, it's like a half of a gourd that is scrape out. It's a container, it's a vessel. And the girl put it there. And then she showed Sister Prudence what came out of this foot. People, if you see warm Sister Prudence come out of this foot. Fine, fine white worm. But she was very happy. She went back to the village and told the medic, Norcy, Ma tell you, in a natural, if you see worm come out of my foot. No, she says, Sister Prudence, worm can come out of your foot. It's not a kind of wound you got. She said, but tell you, she knock, she chase, that she see them worm. So, all right, instead of going back to the clinic, Sister Prudence disappears, stop, go to the clinic. She going to the woman 3 villages down to get this foot fixed. Weeks pass, we didn't even see she in church. Sister Prudence say, amidst all the hallelujahs and amen, people like me, 15 years old, me riveted with this story. Sister Prudence said she went early one morning and the woman in 3 villages down. And the woman wasn't ready to see her, so she sat on the woman's step. You know, in Guyana, our houses are sometimes built in with wood, and they have wooden steps you can go upstairs. So she sat on the bottom step. As she waiting, she looking around, and she happened to see a calabash in the corner of the bottom house. So, you know, one calabash don't look too different from another calabash. So she thought, another the same calabash this woman does bring to collect the worm on her foot. So she waited, but the calabash seemed to be beckoning to her. So she went over to the calabash and she picked up the calabash. But underneath this calabash was a little coconut shell with one set of white worm that looked like the kind that came out of her foot. Now, Sister Prudence might be a bush lady and might be a country boo, but she ain't stupid. She ain't stupid at all. But Sister Prudence put 2 and 2 together and make it 22. She said, Well, you know, Sister Prudence was a big, burly woman. Them strong Buxtonian woman. And she sit down there, she passion fly up in she. Fly up in she. She said, this is nonsense. As Squire would say, this is confounded nonsense. Confounded is a word you can take out from there and put in another word. And so the Sister Prudence went back and picked up the coconut shell and shoved the worms. And she was waiting. The lady come downstairs and said she will see her next. And she started to rub the foot. Sister Prudence watching the titivation. The woman rubbed the foot. Then she called the daughter, go and bring the calabash. Well, the girl bring the calabash. The girl went for the calabash, sorry. And Sister Prudence waiting. And the girl ain't coming back. The girl ain't coming. And she rubbing and she squeezing. So Sister Prudence say, what going on? You getting the worm? You getting the worm? The woman say, wait. Girl is way there. Bring the calabash. And she think the girl can't come with the calabash. And Sister Prudence say, well, you know, maybe today then I get warm. She said, well, come back next time. And Sister Prudence got up. She went. Well, the lady was looking out because Sister Prudence bring the nice fresh eggs from she yard. And Sister Prudence hold on to she egg. She said, well, me go now. Me go keep me warm and me keep me egg. And Sister Prudence hold out. She didn't give the woman any eggs and she went away with she worm. Sister Prudence couldn't wait for Saturday morning to come. She fly back in church to give her testimony. Well, they say that when you do research, you have to triangulate your story. When you go out and you get these accounts, first-hand accounts, it's narratives, that you're not supposed to take them, you know, with any kind of full measure of credibility, because they may be false stories or inflated stories. But you know, I happen to live in the house with a medic, so I heard the other side of the story, that when sometimes old people get wounds, they're not just wounds that are caused by something sticking them or scratches or anything. They might have diabetic wounds. And these diabetic wounds come on the leg because of, you know, medical conditions that they have. In the village, they say you get sugar. And apparently Sister Prudence might have had sugar. And so she had this foot that was, you know, showing a little sign of a sore. And so it needed to be treated at the hospital. And it brings me to this saying in the village, bad health is not obia. Bad health, not obia. It means that if you have poor health or you're not well physically, don't think that somebody did something bad to you or put a curse on you. It meant that we have to take responsibility for our wellness and don't always construe that it's as a result of something else or some other force. That means we have to make overtures or exercise our options. So when I look at this story, I'm thinking that bad health is not obia, is a proverb that tells us that we must be objective and be ready to accept that our physical ailments are just that. It's not to say that traditional medicine is not to be trusted, because I could tell you that a lot of people will tell you with definity that they have gone to traditional healers and were healed where modern medicine couldn't heal them. Like I said, I live in Japan, and except when I had a surgery, I got pharmaceuticals. But when I would have something happen to me, or I'm sick or something, some ailment, and I go to the doctor or to the pharmacy, the first thing they give me is Chinese medicine. And they swear by Chinese medicine because it's herbal medicine. And it's not a kind that will destroy my system. They never give me antibiotics. I've never gotten antibiotics here at all. They would give me something else. And the first choice is Chinese medicine. And it makes me think that in my village, you know, people would go and get the herbal medicine and they would use it alongside traditional medicine. I'm not sure whether that's the right thing or not. So please don't listen and say, well, Dr. Baird say, I'm not that kind of doctor. I'm a paper doctor. I'm not them kind of medical doctor. So get it right. People sometimes do that, but I'm just observing what happens in the village. And when we talk about village, we have these things that come together and sort of clash. And where do we come down on these things? On the side of traditional medicine or modern medicine? Do we make an eclectic mix of different kinds of medicine, whether it's Asian medicine, Caribbean medicine, African medicine? Where does our belief put us? So in this month that is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'm thinking about our health and our wellness. And I want us to think carefully about what the ancestors have given us in this one teaching or this one story, that bad health is not obia. Meaning we don't ascribe our ailments to something other than what they are. And if we do that, we will arrest our situation and handle them well. I know that American doctors, Guyanese and American doctors will go down to Guyana once a year. Since the COVID, I guess they haven't been. But they would go down there once a year and treat the people in the village, especially my village. And my village people, there's something else. They would wait on those people who would do screenings. And some of them even adopted them as a personal doctors. So anyway, that's good. And I want us to think carefully about our health. We should have unreserved options about what we do with our lives and our bodies. Let's exercise those options. Let me talk the story and pass the stories down and give our children options. Let them know what people did long ago, how it turned out, and how these systems collide, bring up new thoughts for us. Where do you stand on this? Because sometimes I'm very conflicted about this traditional medicine or modern medicine. What do you think? Talk the things. Subscribe, follow. Soon I will start in January my digital storytelling class, Writing Our Legacies. If you're willing to join that class, let me know. Send me a message on Facebook or send me an email, paulinefbaird@hotmail.com, and I will follow you. I will follow up with you. Remember, follow and subscribe. A woman just called me the other day and said she wants to donate to What the Story Said. That's lovely. I have a big mission for the village, and any donation is accepted. I'm not making a plug for it, but if you would like to do so, let me know and follow so that we can get ads going and I'm able to fund the village projects that I'm working on. So far, 15 tablets have gone to the children in the village so that they can empower themselves and get the best education they can under the circumstances. Walk good.